Good evening and welcome to Belle for round 3 of the Porsche Cup League, here live and exclusive on iRacing UK Twitch channel, brought to you via iRacing, the world's premier motorsport simulator. Who are iRacing UK? We're a community of enthusiastic and inclusive racers from across the UK who like to run social races, practice sessions, leagues, but most importantly, share experiences and our passion for sim racing. I am Nick Allen, and tonight you join me with the wonderful Mr. Chris Rowlands for another round of heat racing here at the Porsche Cup League. 2 weeks ago, we were over at Watkins Glen, a great circuit for these cars, plenty of overtaking opportunities and some great racing, also some incidents as well. But at the end of the day, Gavin Halls came out on top once again, a really strong drive from Gavin in that race. So this evening, we're going to be bringing you a few different sessions. But firstly, I want to introduce Mr. Chris Rowlands. Chris, how are you doing? A few commentaries for you recently of the F3 and some other racing. How's it been for you?
Good evening, Nick. Good evening, everyone. It's good to see you all. Yeah, it's been quite nice being sat in the commentary booth. I've not really touched my wheel bar racing in the Radical League for about 3 weeks now, and it's quite nice actually. Not sweating as much as we are currently in the heat wave. I think that's why tonight we've seen a few drivers use this as a drop week, because it's probably not the most comfortable driving tonight. We've got 20 drivers here tonight. We're just going through qualifying right now. And yeah, I think Belle is going to serve us up some very spicy racing. It's a very difficult track, just a hot lap, let alone race in the Porsche Cup. So we should be in for a treat.
Yeah, concrete on either side and a very bumpy surface all around. Not much of the slippery green stuff on this circuit to, kind of break your mistakes a little bit, as you see there, car number 11 just going round one of the grassy areas of Detroit. But for the most part, you're going to be looking at concrete this evening. So they do get one qualifying session, and these guys will be put into order based on that. Then we've got some heat racing. So we've got 2 times 20-minute heat races, and half of those entrants will go into each heat from this evening. Now we've also got I believe we will have a consolation race, although we actually only have enough drivers tonight, I believe, for actually a full 30-car feature race. So at the moment, I believe it's looking like we will have definitely the feature race. Whether the consolation race will happen or not, I don't believe it will. We'll see what iRacing's computer logic tells it to do when we get to that point in time, shall we? Now, on your screens at the moment, you see car number 11. That's Anthony Franklin out on the track. These guys setting the qualifying times at the moment. Very easy to pick up a 0x here. Those very close walls just waiting to bite you and put a dent in the paintwork around this very, very bumpy circuit of Belle Isle. Now, you're going to see here car number 11 going into an incredibly tight section of the track here where you actually open up this right-hander into a nice long straight for a run down into the final sector of the circuit. Now, really easy to get on the throttle a bit too early at points in this track and just push yourself out a bit wide. And again, we said those 0x's, 1x's that people are going to be picking up across the course of this race. I think we're in for a bit of a bumpy ride tonight here at Belle Isle in Detroit for round 3. Now, as always, we will be keeping an eye on the Twitch chat throughout the broadcast, so feel free to drop us in some messages. We love to hear from all of you that are watching. It's really fantastic to see your questions, and let us know who you're going to be cheering on tonight and who's going to be the victorious party. I can see we've already got Tim Cox there in the chat asking how many laps before the track gets blocked. And it is incredibly likely that kind of thing could happen. We've seen incidents previously. I believe we had a fairly large incident last week in Watkins Glen, Chris, and it's not uncommon in some of these Porsche cars.
No, it's a hard enough car to keep on the track when you're just going around on your own on a normal circuit. Add another 19 cars into the mix, probably quite warm track temperatures here in Detroit, and a street circuit, and as you say, the bumps. It's a recipe for potential disaster. And I mean, we saw at Snetterton, which is admittedly a very difficult track, lots and lots of cars losing it on the harder corners, so we'll probably see something similar happen tonight, especially where perhaps some of the guys have not qualified exactly where their pace is. For example, James Armstrong, who has already been in Twitch chat to say 4-lap practice gang where you at, has not been able to set a time, so we'll be starting at the back of his heat, so there could be some interesting drama there potentially.
Absolutely. Well, let us know all your thoughts there in the Twitch chat. Now, if you're watching us here on the Twitch this evening, we've also got a YouTube live stream. You might be watching us there, so you can get us at www.youtube.com. That's the iRacing UK community. We've also got our Instagram and Twitter handles there. So we've got www.twitter.com/IRUK_team, and that's the same for Instagram. IRUK_team. So give us a follow, give us a like, a thumbs up, whatever platform it may be. We look forward to seeing you over there. Now, the cars are going to be getting ready and lining up now for the first heat race. Now, it appears to have every driver in it at the moment. We did believe that iRacing would split the pool of drivers this evening into 2 separate races, but it looks like we've got a full grid of 20 here in Heat 1. So who knows what will happen next? Let's get into this first 20 minutes of racing as these guys now grid up.
This is going to make it very stressful for the people around about 10th position here, because suddenly they're back into that jeopardy zone of, will I have to do a second race for my grid slot for the final race?
So it's going to, is that what it's going to do now, Chris? Is it going
That's
to
that's what I'm potentially wondering.
Sean believes, Sean, the producer in the background, just told us that he believes potentially positions 11 to 20 will be racing again in the Heat Race 2. We'll see what iRacing does with this. It's an interesting scenario to be in, with obviously less drivers than we'd usually expect here on the Sunday evening race in the Porsche League. Now, everybody's getting ready to grid up now. No Gavin Halls, I believe, this evening on this race on the grid. We have got some other names you'll recognise, like Colin Wynn, James Armstrong, as you mentioned, Mark Baxter Jones, and Chris Wiley and Dan Bathy. So some real strong drivers here this evening. They're going to be glad of a chance to be without Mr. Halls, who's obviously been up front in the league for a lot of the races so far in this season. A really strong driver in the Porsche, and shame not to see him here at Belle Isle this evening. Just waiting for the final few drivers to grid up. I think we're just waiting now on Stuart Brown. Stuart Brown, are you around? Can't see you. There we go. Now he's in the race, and we've got the lights ready. So here we go. All our drivers on the grid. We've got 5 lights there, and we are away in the next round here of the Porsche Cup League. This is going to be a fantastic start here from Baxter Jones, but it looks like Wiley's also got a great start there as well, and Bathy following close in behind. Carl Wardine up a place already off the start, and it looks to me like Matt Cox is already out of the race. Look at how bumpy that straight is down into the turn 3 here at Belle Isle. A great start there from Baxter Jones. He's managed to hold off Chris Wiley there in the start, with Dan Bathy managing to hold it there in 3rd place. Carl Wardine has managed to make himself up a place into 4th, and then it's followed by Kane Crawford, Chris Roberts, Elia, Denny Wood, Stephen Masters. Oh, and it looks like we've got a few people moving around there. I think that's Armstrong. I've just seen swapping places there, and they're all over the place. Oh, we've got a crash here. We've got a couple of cars off the circuit. Who's that? Could you see there, Chris? I think it was James Armstrong, possibly, or
I think Johnson, Briggs and Masters have all had incidents by the looks of it, as well as Stephen Kershaw on the line.
There's another car there just to the left, in view there. That's number 10 that's got some more damage, a wind mirror missing. Oh, that's a shame to have seen such a heavy incident there at the start already. So Baxter Jones still out ahead. We're here now with Kane Crawford. Now, a fantastic bit of racing here between these guys into the final sector of the track. Car 19 under a lot of pressure here from car number 77, and it looks like, there you go, car number 77, that's Chris Roberts going for the move up the inside. He's not going to be able to do it here. He's had to tuck back in and come back to fight another day. Now, we've already seen a lot of incidents, the back end of that car going all over the place, Chris.
Yeah, you're fighting both the track and your other drivers here, and there's a lot of places where you can go too wide, but you're compromising so much entry speed. As we see here, you can stick your nose in on turn 1, but it might be best to wait for the run into turn 3 as we come into the 90-degree turn, which I think is where Stephen Masters had missed his braking point on the first lap, although he's now recovered to 14th place. So we're going to see a move here as we come along one of the longer straights on the track. They are side by side. Although actually that's Johnny Elia, so there you go, that's the difference in run there. I think they're still positions they were before. Elia had the better run coming out of the previous turn because Roberts had been looking at Crawford. But again, tricky to overtake here, and you really don't want to be pushing on lap 2 when you've got another 18 minutes to keep driving.
And there is a missing rear wing there on that car. That's Martin Robinson that we're looking at there, car number 9, and some components missing, a few dents in the front. He's going to be holding up the driver behind him. That was James Armstrong behind him, I believe. And it looks like we've got a move here. Kane's having a little bit of a battle here, and he's managed to get himself around Johnny there. Fantastic bit of driving as they come into the final sector of the track, very tight, and it's not over yet. Car number 6 having a little look up the inside, fancies another go, and I think Armstrong's also just managed to make a move further up the pack. We'll just get a quick replay of that if we can. Here you go, here's Armstrong, and it looks like that, yeah, struggling there to get the turn in, car number 9, and Armstrong just able to slip it up the inside and get the job done. That's some great driving there from James Armstrong, looking incredibly racy here this evening. He's made his way up the grid a little bit, still not quite in the position where he'd probably like to be, or where he's used to being at the really at the sharp end, where the likes of Baxter Jones and Wally and Bathy are.
Yeah, and you just saw on one of those clips there, Johnny Elia just about saving that with a bit of oversteer on exit. It just shows you how hard these guys are having to push just to keep up with each other. And yeah, Armstrong and Franklin in 10th and 11th, they've gained 9 and 6 places respectively off the start of the grid, so they've kept it clean and are going quite well so far.
Great stuff so far from all of our racers. It looks like the gap's incredible. Oh, we've got some contact there. There's another rear wing that's gone missing there. That was Anthony Franklin that we were just watching there. And as a flashing the lights and a wind mirror hanging off there. So that wouldn't pass an MOT anymore. That's a shame. Now, he's chasing after Stuart Brown at the moment with Stephen Masters not far behind him. We're going to go back over to Kane Crawford, who's still fighting with Johnny Elia here. And it's an incredible fight these guys have been having for the last lap or so. Looks like we've got a bit of damage there on Kane Crawford's car, so he's probably just losing a little bit of pace through that, and it's just managed meaning that he can't quite get it round Johnny. And I've just heard a bit of paintwork contact there, maybe from iRacing. It sounded like a bit of a bump there. Not sure who it was, whether it was Johnny ahead or Kane Crawford behind. Oh, we've got more there. There's Martin Robinson and Anthony Franklin had a spin there. Let's see if he can get that car turned around safely. It looks like he's managed to get it out the way. Oh, a few of his competitors coming through. That is a little bit dangerous there, but unfortunately that car really not up to much right now, is it? And I think a pit stop is required to even keep it going round.
Yeah, you're sort of stuck in terms of what you decide to do there, because do you get the practice in and hope other people have incidents, or do you commit to taking the pit stop and just practice so you've got a bit more confidence in the car for the second race, assuming we have a second heat or consolation? It might well be that we're just deciding the grid order for the final race here, having watched the F1 at Silverstone this week and seen what a great idea that was. As James Armstrong's now set the fastest lap of the race, so he's really on a charge here. He's got Martin Mendel next on the list of people to overtake, and I think he's only 4 tenths behind him here, as he just, he's pushing very hard there. Just see him grazing the wall. I think if anyone's got 2 wing mirrors left at the end of this race, they've not been pushing hard enough.
Both the cars that we're watching here have both got one missing at least. Yeah, both the left one as well. I guess maybe that must be the risk here, is that the left side of the car takes more of the brunt on some of these corners. But you say James Armstrong really chasing quite hard. A few dents in the front of that Porsche Cup as well. That 911, and it looks to me like he's really trying quite hard here, but trying to find a better line, using all the curb that he can there to get himself around. I think he's just trying to find the right point in the circuit, and he's got it done there. Absolutely fantastic up the inside, no dramas at all for James Armstrong. He's on a charge up the field. Is that 9th position now? That is 9th now that James has made his way up to, so great work from him. Now, as you said, setting the fastest lap. Even the leaders are only doing 1:31s at the moment. As we just go back to watching this, it looks like is this a replay from Anthony Franklin we've got here? Ah, yes, this is it. Oh, we've got a car facing the wrong way around there. That's unfortunate, and it is incredibly tight here at Belle Isle. So if you see a yellow flag, you've got to take it seriously around here, because the obstacle could be looking at you as soon as you come around the next corner. Oh, bit of a that's the actual incident that caused this in the first place. That's Stuart Brown. Not much you could do about that there, really. And there's Anthony Franklin diving into the pits now, going to get a repair, and hope that if he's through to that final, he should be, will be a bit better practice just for having the lap time, maybe.
Yeah, I think that's worth doing. It's not particularly high track temps here, but that's not to say you're not going to spin out on exit of corner, because it is still very difficult to drive this car, and it's not an easy circuit either. But I think it'd be worth these drivers just getting an extra 12-13 minutes practice in. Just, calm the nerves a bit for the final race, and we will hopefully see the full field make it round in race 2. But I must say, this has been quite, considering the difficulty these drivers are having to race with, they've done quite well to keep it as clean as they have, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. We're not seeing any horrendous incidents or dicey moves that have caused big crashes, and really, really pushing it quite really to the limit there, right next to the edge of the wall. And these guys, there's another mirror missing there on P2 Chris Wally's car. So as you said, Chris. That's the badge of honour that lets you know that these guys are pushing it right to the very limit. We're going to ride now with Baxter Jones on the rear wing as we watch Chris Wally following him round turns 1 and 2. Lovely flowing S's at the start of this circuit before the long run down to turn 3, which is a incredibly tight right-hander, followed by another one shortly afterwards. So heavy on the brakes here. Look at that, Chris managing to just sneak up to the rear bumper a little bit. Not quite close enough, taking a lot of curb there. Nice and bouncy, the front of that Porsche. And then he is the second right-hander of turn 4 before they make the incredibly delicate left here. Now there's a bit of curb on the inside. If you catch it, you can unsettle the car and push it all the way out to the right hand side and clip those concrete walls we've been talking about this evening. And it really looks like Baxter Jones has got it under control here, but Chris Wally obviously will have a little bit of tow here and maybe a chance to have a big dive into the next corner.
Yeah, I don't know which of these two I'd rather be, having to drive this close to each other on a street circuit. It must be incredibly stressful for the both of them, especially with Dan Bathy right behind them, having just set the fastest lap of the race.
Dan Bathy has dethroned James Armstrong from that title then, so with that a second quicker, well, half a second quicker pretty much, isn't he, there on that best lap. Now I wonder if Chris Wally just feels like he's maybe being held up a little bit at this point. Does he think that he's perhaps got more pace in him there than Baxter Jones? The lap times are pretty similar at the moment, and the best times are also pretty similar, so I wouldn't say that particularly either of them have got the edge over the other one. So Dan Bathy perhaps just waiting to capitalise on a mistake here. We've obviously seen a few spins and clippings on the wall so far, so there's no reason to believe that in the next 10 minutes we couldn't see a bit more of that. Now, your current order is Baxter Jones, Wally, Bathy, Chris Roberts, Oliver Carr-Wardine, and we've also got Johnny Elia in 6th, followed by Denny Wood, James Armstrong, Kane Crawford, and then Martin Rendell, Mark Johnson, and Vance Briggs. We've also got Stephen Masters, Stuart Brown, Anthony Franklin, Stephen Kershaw. We've seen obviously some incidents further down the pack, some people that have been into the pits by the looks of it. So unfortunately, some people coming out a little bit worse off in this race, as we go back over to Johnny Elia, who is in 6th position at the minute, trying to race his way past the car, number 80 of Oliver Carr-Wardine. Looks like they're pretty close at the minute. What's the gap there at the moment, Chris?
It's not much at all, and they've been swapping positions. It looks like on one of the previous straights they both passed each other twice, and Carwadine managed to keep it ahead of Elia there so far. But as with the two leaders, these two seem quite happy to race neck and neck and side by side along this circuit. Although this, where we are now, this sort of U-shaped part of the circuit, not really somewhere you want to comfortably be going too wide, especially for the amount of time it will cost you. Much better to wait for that turn 3. Just set the move up from now. Although, as we've seen with Chris Wally, just content to sit behind Baxter Jones. Elia here is slightly more trying to sort of stick his nose out where he can, just to remind Carwadine he's there. Just see if you can put him off, maybe make him miss a braking point by a yard or two, and that might give you that advantage you need to set that run up, as we go over to Kane Crawford now with Mark Johnson.
Yeah, Crawford is currently a 4/10 gap at the moment between him and Johnson. So really, really close at the minute, these guys. We're going to go to a quick replay here of Kane Crawford. Looks like, was there an incident possibly here? Or, oh, yeah, a little bit of a spin there. He's just lost the rear. He did have a little bit of aero damage, but it looks a bit of bodywork damage on the car already. But luckily, he's managed to get it round back onto the concrete safely. Oh, and we've got some contact there. That's Denny Wood. Now, Armstrong that's just trying to get round Denny, and there's another one caught up there as well. Was that? I think that was Johnny Elia also caught up. So we looked away for a few minutes. Let's see if we get a replay of that from somebody's perspective in a minute. Sean will line that one up for us and we'll just get another view of what happened. But lots of damage on the front of Denny Wood's car there. There's a lot of Porsches with dents in them this evening that we're seeing go around. And that now means that James Armstrong's moved up the order a little bit. So what? Is Johnny Elia struggling there a little bit? Oh, there's contact on the inside of... Ooh, side by side. That was interesting to see. That didn't look... Looked a bit of a moment, really, but interesting. Oh, let's have another look at this here. So here's Johnny Elia. He's coming up the inside. Bit late on the brakes, maybe. Doesn't think he's going to quite make it. Yeah, he's locked up a little bit there, and then he nearly clips the back there. I mean, he's perhaps just not seeing the next car that's come up beside him, which is a shame really there. So unfortunate, having a great race there, Johnny was, and we've been enjoying watching all of that action from him this evening. So back over we go now to Mark Johnson. So Mark Johnson currently running in P10, P11, sorry, that is, I believe. He's half a second off the car in front at the moment. That is Crawford, who's looking a little bit worse. So again, it looks to me like Johnson's still got both his mirrors, so I don't think he's been trying hard enough, Chris.
Yeah, that's clearly what's happened there. Despite the Bombardier livery on there, you know, the drinking and the driving, you'd expect to potentially cause some issues, but he seems to be coping all right so far. He'll be chasing Crawford there for that coveted 10th place. We're not sure if that means automatic qualification or it's just an extra place on the grid, but it's worth chasing.
Oh, Crawford's just tapped the wall there a little bit.
Yeah, as you say, he's tapped the wall there. That's going to allow him to go side by side into turn 3.
Looks like Johnson's ahead.
But Crawford's got the inside line, and I think they're both taking it sensibly there. We've still got another 7 minutes to go. No need to absolutely send it on anyone just yet.
Great work from these guys at the minute. Really enjoyable to watch this Porsche Cup race. The Detroit Belle Isle circuit has been fantastic. It really has delivered here this evening. Windy stuff. And oh, look, we've got a couple more drivers there involved in incidents. Martin Rendell there and Johnny Alia again. So perhaps some of the damage now starting to show through. Let's see what happened from Johnny's view here. Looks like he comes down here. He's got a decent entry, but he's lost it all on his own really. Perhaps just maybe gotten distracted by Randall ahead of him, maybe seeing him go straight on, but it didn't look to me like there was really anything forcing Johnny's mistake there. So shame to see that unfortunate race for him so far, but still managing to maintain I've just noticed, look Chris, it's Wally's in the pit lane now, and he's dropped all the way down to 7th position. So that means Dan Bathy's been promoted up to P2, and Chris Roberts is on the podium as well in P3.
Yeah, it's a very stressful race, it appears, for these drivers. It just goes to show, and he's lost it all on his own there, just on exit.
That's a shame. And then the mirror really gone this time. So, wow, yeah, okay. Here's Oliver Carr-Wardine. So he's been obviously gifted a position. Look at James Armstrong now, up into 4th position. James really fighting hard. I think he's actually just snatched that away from Oliver, hasn't he? So great racing from James. He's come from way down on the grid and managed to steal himself plenty of positions. Here's the replay of that. He's up the inside. He's incredibly confident about that. And yeah, nice and easy. Oliver just says, "You can have that one, James. You've got the car down the side, and you'd rather not have the incident." This has been a great race for Oliver so far. Very much incident-free as far as I think we've seen this evening. So good to see him having a great race. Now, there's Crawford again by the looks of it, just tapping the wall on the exit, and again that's allowed Mark Johnson to come really up close. These guys fighting hard all the way to the end with only 5 minutes of this heat race left. And look at that, Ken Crawford having to go around the outside, and Mark Johnson just tucking it on the inside line, and he gets the job done. Dive Bombardier. Well, not quite a dive Bombardier.
It's a very, very nicely done move, although Crawford does not want to give this up. He is right on Johnson's tail. And I think Crawford is doing here what we've all been guilty of this. When you're just pushing that little bit too hard, especially on a street circuit, you do end up just, you start tapping the wall here and there. It gets worse and worse. Sometimes it's good to just pull back a bit. As we see, James Armstrong's now lost it, so he's currently down to 8th. Johnson and Crawford will be next here. Just shows you just how difficult this circuit is to manage. And so I think we've watched a replay of what happened to him here. Yeah, he's just lost it on that penultimate corner.
Perhaps the damage that he's picked up over the course of the race now just starting to, again, we've seen lots of guys that have been a bit squiffy at points of the race. That rear wing going to be completely hanging off, and that's a shame for James after such a strong performance from him throughout this race. Now, Chris Wally's crashed as well again, so he's going to be way down the order now. And I think we've also got the likes of Oliver Carr-Wardine obviously promoted back into 4th position after James had that incident. Here's a replay here of Chris. Let's see what he did. Oh, he's just not made it, has he?
Missed the breaking point by the looks of it.
Not made it into the corner, and that's a shame. Here's Kane Crawford, a replay here of getting past Mr. Johnson. It looks like he's... Oh, there's a car ahead. There's
quite James Armstrong with his damaged wing. That's a good overtake.
It was fantastic work there, wasn't it? Yeah, it was great stuff. And Crawford just taking advantage of that situation. And now he's going to try and push his way past Mr. Armstrong, who, with that damaged car, I bet is still a bit of a challenge to get round. We know what he's like. He's a, he doesn't give up. He tries real hard. No, he's lost it again in a very similar place to where he did the initial damage. As he spins it round. Oh, there's a few more cars coming around the corners and more contact on the walls at the back in the background there. Maybe we'll get a quick clip of that in a minute. But Crawford now pulling out their bit of distance ahead of Johnson. Great racing from these guys. We've seen plenty of action down this end of the field, while the likes of Baxter and Bathy and Roberts at the front just cruise off into the distance. And yeah, great racing from all of these guys tonight.
Yeah, I think Baxter, Jones and Bathy are the only two that I believe haven't had any sort of incident whatsoever. Not saying that in any sort of disparaging way to the rest, because like we've said before, this is an incredibly difficult combination, but I think they'll be blessing their lucky stars, these guys, that this is a heat race and not the one race we're doing this evening, because yeah, it's been chaotic. Long Beach in 4 weeks will be a bit spicy too, I suspect, based on tonight.
Absolutely, yeah. We just saw a quick replay there. I think Vance Briggs and Stuart Brown having a bit of a sparring match, and then a bit of wall contact there, which just happened after the James Armstrong incident. So, yeah, as you said, incredibly challenging. The temperature's probably risen relatively high, and these guys having to really fight these, in some cases, quite dented and damaged Porsche Cup cars around this very incredibly tight circuit. So, really great stuff to see. We're back with Kane Crawford still. He's having to put up a bit of a fight here, and there's a back marker letting these guys through. That's great, great sportsmanship there that we've just seen. And as we just go further back in the pack, here's Vance Briggs, and Vance will be facing after James Armstrong. He'll be looking to get round. James obviously has had a few incidents with that damage that he's got, and does he manage to get round the corner this time? Yeah, he's not managed to spin it this time. So Vance will be looking for a move. Maybe he'll manage to get it into the S's or perhaps into turn 3. We'll have a little look now as they enter the main pit straight here. Vance managing to keep it incredibly close to the back of James Armstrong, and it looks to me like Stuart Brown behind him just dropping back now won't be a threat possibly to Vance here, who we've seen in other leagues around iRacing UK. And this is going to be the time. He's going to put a big chase in here. He's going to have the toe, probably a bit more straight line speed, less damage overall than it looks than James. And James keeping it there on the right-hand side, which is going to be the inside line, as he moves over then to the left. And is Vance going to be able to do anything? He can't do anything about it. So James,
yeah, I wonder if James knows he's lost his rear wing. He's certainly driving like he's still got one, and managing to keep it on the track pretty nicely. It must be quite frustrating for Briggs behind him, who can see that rear wing's missing and wants to get past him and just isn't able to. Brown behind him is actually a lap down, so he's just going to have to sit here and wait and watch and see what happens. As the leaders have gone across the line and we've hit the time limit, so this will be the white flag lap for the leaders.
There's Kane Crawford there again. Looks like he might have just gone round, taken a bit of an inside curve there, but Kane Crawford managing to bring it home here in 8th position at the moment. So great racing so far we've seen from Kane, albeit a couple of incidents, a couple of wall taps, but putting up a great fight with Mark Johnson, and they've been incredibly fun to watch all the way through this session when we've seen them together. And here is Baxter Jones coming towards the end of the lap, well, about the halfway point in the lap here. Car number 8, fantastic drive from Baxter Jones. He's looked relatively unbothered for the most part. He did have a bit of pressure from Wally earlier, but obviously that incident for Chris meant that he just couldn't keep up the pressure. So Baxter Jones, great racing and a really fantastic drive. There's still a bit of the lap left to go, so we won't curse him just yet, hopefully. But the gap to Dan Bathy behind 3 seconds, I think that's a fairly comfortable position for Baxter Jones to be in right there. As we go back to Johnson and Crawford here on their final lap, fighting it out in the early portion of the circuit. So that's turn 3, I believe. They've just gone round and into number 4 here, and then we're going to be up to the tight left-hander, very delicate left-hander here of turn 5, and let's see if there's a chance for Mark Johnson to be able to do a very similar manoeuvre to what he pulled off before on Kane Crawford. And there's Baxter Jones just taking the checkered flag, as we should probably go back and have a little look at Crawford and see if Johnson manages to get past him, because that was looking like it could be a real interesting battle there towards the last portion of the race. Dan Bathy then coming over the line in second. There's been some fantastic racing from these guys. Great to see here. And yeah, awesome stuff. And here we are. We're back with, I believe, Mark Johnson here. Yeah, here we are with Kane Crawford and Mark Johnson. And they're incredibly close together, aren't they? This is going to be right to the end. And I don't think that he's been... Oh, there's plenty of wall bumping going on there. And there's all over the track. Is he going to be able to do it here? Let's see. Oh, not quite. Looks like Crawford might just have it. No, on the inside, he's going to do it. Final run now. Will Mark Johnson be able to get it up the inside here of Kane Crawford? They're incredibly close, and I don't think he's been able to do it. No, he hasn't. That's Mark Johnson. What a race from those two guys and Kane Crawford. And here's Vance Briggs now chasing James Armstrong over the line. James manages to bring that stricken car back in P10 without the rear wing, but fantastic racing from him. We saw him obviously chasing from the back of the grid, and he had a great run this evening. So really awesome racing from all of these Porsche Cup drivers. A commanding victory from Baxter Jones, and a great race from the likes of Johnny O'Lear, who we saw get involved in a couple of fights and maybe a couple of little slow incidents at points. But excellent work from all of the guys that we've seen here on the grid this evening. Chris, any highlights for you?
The whole race, in a sense. I think some of the side-by-side racing we saw was exquisite. Obviously I can't speak for the drivers, but I would, if it were me, I'd be feeling pretty sanguine about a lot of those incidents just because of how stressful it can be. And it does look like we're going to get a consolation race with the bottom 10 of the race we've just had. So we could see some real side-to-side driving here. This will probably just be determining the final 10 grid spots for the final race, which means Baxter Jones will be on pole, and the winner of the race we're about to see is going to, I assume, start 11th for the final race. But possibly a big advantage for some of these guys, because this is another 20 minutes of practice for them.
Absolutely, yeah, they get more track time, but it does mean that they do 3 races in a row. That's 20 minutes, 20 minutes, and a 30-minute race that they're going to be doing. So it's going to be pretty challenging for these guys, and obviously they will all be able to go through into that final race. So, like you said, a bit of extra practice, but it's an incredibly warm night, and I hope these guys have got their aircon or their fans cranked up, because it's going to be a struggle.
Yeah, so we're gonna need to hydrate well. I think even in the commentary booth, it's important.
Absolutely, we'll be taking. Oh, here we go, and it looks like none of them have gridded up. We've only got Colin Wynn there, Chris Wally by the looks, or am I not seeing something, Chris?
I can only see 2 cars as well. This will be an interesting 20-minute shootout. Rob Armstrong and Vance Briggs both appear to be gridding, but I'm not sure what's happened to the rest of the guys.
So it looks like all the other guys who have decided not to grid up and just go straight to the next round, give themselves that break. They know they're going to be starting in that bottom 10. So it looks to me like we've got Colin Wynn and Chris Wally here, who Colin coming to a close there. So perhaps this will be these guys asking to advance the session and just go straight through to the feature race, which might be for the best.
Looking at the in-game chat, Matt Cox, who is one of the league's admins, has advanced session twice. So I suspect we're about to go to the warm-up. Hopefully, we're about to go to the warm-up now, and then we can go straight to the feature race and have our 30 minutes with all 20 drivers, which I think, as you say, with the heat, is probably for the best for everyone. It's quite warm.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think these guys will really be feeling it, wrestling these cars around. So this consolation race now will just need to be advanced, and then ultimately these guys will be able to go through to the final. All in the pits at the moment, so it looks like we may be just going to be sitting here for watching the pit lane for a little while. We'll see what we can find out in a moment with regards to what's going on. But while I have your attention, let me just leave you a little bit of a view of what the current league standings look like. Now, Gavin Halls is leading the league at the moment with an enormous points haul at the front. He's done a fantastic job so far. And then the likes of Dan Bathy in second, with Aaliyah in third, Hornby in fourth, and then Briddle in fifth. We've got James Armstrong bringing it up in sixth at the moment. He's had a fantastic couple of races. He's really been pushing quite hard. And then Adam Holloway, Mark Baxter Jones, and Colin Wynn, and then Denny Wood bring out the top 10 there. So, actually different numbers to what I had on my screen there that you've got showing. So you've got Colin Wynn in ninth and Kane Crawford there. So it's be misspeaking there. Gavin Hall's a real commanding lead, 453 points. What a haul there from Gavin Halls. Dan Bathy looking incredibly strong there as well. So not a lot of separation between these drivers. You look at the likes of Chris Briddle there and Michael Hornby, 1 point in it between those guys. So a real range of battles that you're going to be seeing going on across the rest of this championship, and I can't wait for it personally. This is going to be an awesome few final rounds as we see out the remainder of this league. Now, Just having a look now, it looks like we've still got the guys obviously not on the track with the timer ticking away. What we'll do in the meantime is just give you a little bit of a view of what is going to be coming up in the future. So we have a few more races for you in this league. So we're at Belle Isle obviously this weekend, and the next race that we'll be able to bring you is going to be Road Atlanta. So Road Atlanta, and then followed by Long Beach and Bathurst. So three incredibly popular tracks on the service at the moment. Bathurst, obviously, we had the Radical League at Bathurst a few weeks ago, Chris, didn't we? And that was a real high octane experience with the tight walls, very much, I suppose, a little bit like Belle Isle here, where there's not a lot of room on the track for passing. It's you've got the long straight towards the end of Bathurst, but I guess very much like you do have a couple of long sections here, but incredibly tight with walls on either side, especially in that mountain section, is pretty perilous when you've got a load of radicals going around there nose to tail.
Yeah, we've got the advantage with the radicals of having a nice amount of downforce. I can see these Porsche Cup cars being just that little bit sketchier, especially on that kink just before, where the jump is at Bathurst. I would not want to be drafting someone for the lead on the final lap there. I think the stress would get to me. I mean, I think you did quite well at Bathurst, but I found it very, very humbling indeed as I sort of sat at the back, unable to get past anyone compared to the fact I think I'd won the previous round at Brands Hatch. So my ego took the requisite beating that I think it needed after that.
Yeah, I hadn't driven Bathurst before the Radicals, so it was quite an experience getting used to the track and learning all the intricacies of that mountain downhill section where you really don't realize how much braking you need when you're going downhill on the Radical, and it's incredibly dicey. So yeah, now just to give you a bit of a recap on how this league works. Now we have points obviously awarded for all of the drivers. So P1 will get 150 points, P2 135, P3 gets 125, and P4 gets 120. Now that scale goes down across the entire grid, so everyone will always be given points for participation within these races. So there's always something to come away with here, whether it's a battle scar on your car, an ego boost from a win, but you'll always get some points from an IR UK league like this. Now we're still just waiting to see what's going to be going on next. Just having a little look over at some of your comments. We're going to just have a sorry, just quick interruption. We will have a little break in about 2.5 minutes, and that will be just a little bit of downtime on the stream while we just wait to find out what we're going to be doing next. Now, looks like we've been trying to push the sim just through the warm up, so we just obviously need to see if we can get into the next round for that final, because all of these guys have managed to qualify through to the final round. If you're watching the stream tonight and you've never experienced iRacing or the iRacing UK Twitch streams, head over to our Facebook page, www.facebook.com/iRacing UK. Head over there. You can ask one of the admins for an invite, and we'll invite you over to the Discord, and you can come and join in with one of these leagues that we've been running on IR UK if you fancy it. We've also got the YouTube channel and the Twitter handle of IR UK_team. Head over there, give us a follow to stay up to date on what we're going to be doing in these leagues. Now, we have had a great race tonight already with plenty of action, plenty of damage on these cars, wind mirrors flying all over the place, rear wings going missing. These Porsche Cup cars have really taken a bit of a beating throughout these this initial heat race, and we've seen a lot of instances of contact in the past as well, with a few incidents at the start of races in Watkins Glen that we saw last week, 2 weeks ago, sorry, and similarly in other rounds like Snetterton as well. A few pilots off the start where people maybe didn't get the grip down on the tarmac at the start, and some guys unfortunate incidents where we do see people coming together. But for the most part, a very clean and very welcoming league that you've been able to see here so far. Now, if you've got Twitch Prime, if you've got Amazon Prime, that means you've got Twitch Prime, and you get a free subscription to any Twitch channel that you want. Why not give it to iRacing UK? We'd really appreciate the subscription. It really helps to continue to produce this content for obviously all the viewers out there that really enjoy watching the racing that we produce here on iRacing UK.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, cool. Oh my god. drivers obviously on the grid. There was no need to run the second heat for this evening. So we're out on the grid now, giving a bit of a warm up, getting those tyres warm, working out where they're going to be going around the track, where their lines are going to be. They've had some practice time already, obviously, by having that initial heat race that set the order a little bit. So now it's just a case of these guys getting around the next 30 minutes in one piece. We've seen a lot of dents, a lot of damage, and a lot of beaten up Porsches this evening. Hopefully, we'll see a few more wing mirrors still on there. Now, let's see who we've got out on the grid at the moment. We've got the likes of Masters and Armstrong out there at the moment, out on the track, just having a little bit of a practice, bit of a warm-up, getting themselves out there and around some laps to make sure they know where they're going to be going in a minute's time. A few guys just coming out of the pit lane there, you can see as we just have a little look down onto the pit exit. We've got Kane Crawford in there at the moment. Fantastic race from Kane Crawford and Johnson in the initial heat race. You saw some great side-by-side action, some really bold moves, and a lot of overtaking from those guys. Also some really well thought-out manoeuvres as well. And that little two-way battle that we saw, they got a bit caught up in a few other backmarks, a few other incidents that were going on, but luckily both drivers managed to make it to the end. Not necessarily with all the cars in one piece, but definitely, definitely enough of an order to get back. Now, Chris, we're obviously going back into a 30-minute race this time rather than 20. It was obviously quite tough for some of these guys just in 20 minutes to keep the cars in one piece. So who do you think we're going to see as the winners and losers, really, of this final round?
Well, I think the strong favourite has to be Mark Baxter-Jones, who absolutely swept everyone aside in that first race. Didn't really have to get his hands dirty whatsoever. He's not gone out for this warm-up. He's had a 20-minute break. He's obviously feeling very confident, and he'll be starting on pole for having won the heat race earlier. So if he can keep his nose clean on that first lap, as we see Johnny Elia testing the exact limits of the track there, and trying not to collect the number 80 of Oliver Carwadine while he does it.
See if he can get that car around in reverse.
Just yet. I mean, you need to explore every inch of the track, and I think he's electing to go into the pits there. And yeah, I think James Armstrong's been very unlucky, but we saw him go from last to fourth in the heat race. He has an extra 10 minutes here. If he can keep his car clean, we could potentially see another storm through the grid as they are lining up on the grid. And we were wondering, where they had to do the consolation race and just wait, the 10 guys that were in it were able to race. So Colin Wynne has finessed himself up to 11th place here. As we're just taking a look at the starting grid. Dan Bathy in second was only 4 seconds behind Baxter-Jones in that race. So he's, he has the pace to keep up with him. We saw them sort of neck and neck for quite a bit of the race. Bathy must have at some point had a slight moment. So if he can just keep it clean for another 10 minutes extra, we could be in for quite a strong race here.
Dan Bathy was sat behind the battle of Chris Wally and Baxter-Jones, wasn't he, at the start?
Yes.
And he was just waiting and watching to see where his opportunity would come to try and sneak through those two. But unfortunately, obviously, Wally coming out a little bit worse after a bit of a dink on the wall. So that's dropped him all the way back to 15th position where he's going to be started. So no doubt we're probably going to see him charging up the order here in the same way that we saw James Armstrong in the last race. Now, there are two Armstrongs, and you'll notice some different cars across the grid, but we're just going to go over to the start now as the lights go out and our racers are away, and it looks like Baxter-Jones has got a good start again here. He's had a strong start in the last race as well, and he's got a good car length ahead of Dan Bathy by the looks of it as he gets a nice clean entry into the S's. I think everybody there, got a couple of cars going too wide there into the second turn. And we've got a few of them turn around here. There's a lot of damage. And it's an absolute car park on the main straight here into turn 3. There's at least 5 cars down there, 6 cars maybe, that have had incidents and had to get turned around. We did think that maybe something would happen here and it would turn into, like we just said, a bit of a car park down at the bottom, and they're all stationary, just waiting to get themselves out the way. It looks like Kane Crawford, possibly one of the people involved there, maybe. It is Wally, Briggs, Cox, Crawford. That is a bit of a shame to see here, obviously, on this opening lap when we've got another 29 minutes now to go. So let's see what these guys can do. Now, that gives a few of our drivers opportunities to make their way up the grid. And one of the people with a fantastic start there was Colin Wynne up to 7th position. And look at the Armstrongs as well. We've got Rob Armstrong ahead of James Armstrong. So fighting it out, father and son battle here. And it looks like looks like he's been let through there, James. So James now managing to get himself back up the order a little bit in 9th position. So he's in the top 10. Good racing from James already we've seen. And there is, I believe, Mark Johnson. Yeah, Mark Johnson. Great racing we saw from him in the last round. And now he's chasing down Anthony Franklin, looking to get round him. As we go back to the front of the pack, where we've got Baxter Jones, Bathy and Roberts incredibly tight at the minute. It looks like to me like Baxter Jones now managing just to sneak away a little bit, to grow a bit of a gap, but Chris Roberts obviously putting a bit of pressure, and Dan Bathy picking up a bit of grass on the inside there, one of the few bits of grass around this concrete jungle that is Detroit Belle Isle. So let's see what can be done here into turn 3. I don't think they're close enough. We're going to go back to Mark Johnson here. He's going to be looking for a move on the inside of turn 1, but I don't think he's going to be able to do it. It has pushed Vance Briggs a little bit wider, but that gives him the inside line, and that, look at that, there's Mark Johnson making his way around. He's done it. He's got the move done. Fantastic work from Johnson.
Yeah, lot going on there in that first lap. It'd be very unfortunate and frustrating for those 6 or 7 drivers caught up at the back, but very good news for those at the front who've got a nice gap already to Colin Wynne 7th to a 2.5. James Armstrong, though, in 9th. He's not that far behind. If he can get these overtakes done quickly, with the pace he's been showing, he could catch up to this group, especially if they trip each other up, because, you know, there's less than a second separating this top 3.
Absolutely, just 3/10 between P1 and P2, and then another 3/10 between P2 and P3. This is going to be a really spicy little fight we've got here at the front. Let's see if Baxter Jones can hold it together under pressure. The last race, he was fantastic. We saw him get away from the rest of the pack. It sounds like Rendell has crashed. We're going to go and have a little look at the replay of that. Here's Martin Rendell on the long straight, and then is he going to get a little bit deep under braking here, maybe? Oh, he's just, oh no, he's managed to turn it around by the looks of it. He's spun it on the inside. He got too much, and the rear end has overtaken him. He has done very well, though, to keep it out of those concrete bollards, Chris.
It's very good to see a driver hold his brakes and wait until a safe place to rejoin. It's so difficult, and it feels like it takes years to get back going again, but it's in your interest just as much as the other drivers, because if you hit them as you're reversing back onto the track, that's your race over, as opposed to just being a few places down. So it's good to see some sensible driving there from Martin Rendell, who has rejoined in 14th place.
Now, we've got Chris Wally here down in 15th position. Obviously, a pretty rough start, having been involved in that early incident. So there's a bit of damage on that car, but look at this. He's going to try and thread the needle here. He's going to try and get through both of these guys up ahead of him. We've got Rendell and Johnson ahead of him. I don't think he's too interested in sticking around behind them. Well, that was Franklin that he's just passed. Actually, he's not Johnson. So here he is now behind Rendell, who we obviously also have that spin a little bit earlier. But we know that Wally is a fast driver, and he's going to want to catch up to get himself up to the top half of the grid to claim as many points as possible to try and keep himself in the championship fight. Now here is Stuart Brown, car number number 3 that we've got there on your screen, so you can see there the lovely livery of the iRacing UK logo on it. Now he is in a fight here between Colin Wynne and James Armstrong. James Armstrong's going to be trying to pick away a bit of time, and he's already closed that gap up. Look how close James Armstrong's managed to get, and it almost looked like Brown there just having to correct a little bit oversteer possibly. Now James has got a bit of a beaten up car, and he's still putting in some pretty impressive lap times, James here. He's been consistently one of the quicker drivers this evening that we've seen, with incredibly fast times in the 130s. He was actually lapping quicker than the leaders, I believe, earlier in the initial heat race. Now it looks to me like Stuart Brown's going to be under some considerable threat here, Chris, into turn 3. I think Armstrong is going to be quite brave on the brakes, possibly into this right-hander, and that'll be the move done, I expect. Let's see just how brave he is. No, he's left it alone on this lap. Maybe not quite thinking that he's going to be able to get it round. Maybe he drives to live another day.
Yeah, he's got more confidence in his abilities than I do mine, because I seem to remember in season 1 of the Radical League, as he goes to the overtake here. Yep, nicely done. Certainly the drivers like James, and I think Dan Saddington was the other one, if I ever saw them coming up behind me, I'd just let them go so that I could race my own race. But Stuart Brown did very well to defend that for the first few corners. I certainly find I go to pieces if there's a driver I think is faster than me right behind me. I hope half the Radical League are not listening, so they don't hear that key piece of strategical advice given away.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's actually a problem. All the broadcast team are in the league, so I probably should have kept that to myself.
Yeah, thanks for that. Me and Sean know just what to do now. All right, now we're here with Vance Briggs. Vance, we're going to go actually over to Colin Wynn because Colin's had a fantastic race so far, made his way up to 6th, but he's under pressure from Mr. Armstrong. So another overtake on the cards here. A few bits of James's car hanging off, but he's still... Oh, he's just tapped the wall there again by the looks, and he's just going to drop him back a little bit more, and that could lose him a few tenths per lap. That might be a benefit for Colin. That's probably just given Colin a little bit of breathing room, albeit not a lot. It's tighter than a corset between those two cars. So let's see what Colin can do now to try and grow that gap. James all over the place there. It looks like he's really struggling to get that thing round, but he's all behind though. We've got Elia. Look at this move coming from Johnny. Johnny's going to be trying to get his way around Stuart Brown. He's gone for the inside line here. Incredibly brave under braking. Can he get it done on the inside? I think he's done it. We've seen him try it there before and have a bit of a moment, but he's this time round nice and tidy. He's got it done. And he's going to probably grow a nice little gap there to the car behind. So Colin back under pressure from James. He's re-closed up that gap. James really looking to the outside. Colin, heavy defensive manoeuvre, perhaps not able to open up the exit of that corner as much as he'd like to. And now James is going to have that slipstream right behind him, which is going to cause him incredible pressure into the next corner. Colin looking to defend on the inside, but he moves to the outside, keeps it nice and tight in the braking, and James is all over those curbs, bouncing that Porsche up and down. Colin lives to tell the story for another day. Look at this. Great racing.
Very good driving from everyone. You could see with the Johnny Elia overtake how much that car was wiggling under the brakes. He could not have been braking any later than he did to get that move done. But very sensible driving from Brown as well, just to make sure that he had enough space. Lives to fight another day. And as we see, if Vance Briggs here can get ahead of Anthony Franklin, as these two are the two closest drivers on the circuit currently.
And they're being followed by Martin Rendell as well. So there's a potential for a three-way battle here for what I believe is going to be 14th position, so 14th, 15th and 16th. It looks like Chris Wally's managed to clear this pack. He was down in 15th earlier when we went over to him. And here we're back with Colin Wynn on the long straight down into turn 3. And I believe that he's going to be under threat here from Armstrong again. But is James going to want to risk it? He's going to go out to the inside. Under braking, he's going to be able to get it done. Colin says, you can have that one, James. No problem at all. I think that we were bound for a bit of contact there if Colin probably didn't get out of that. So great to see these guys obviously just recognising the limits of where the battles need to start and finish, and some great driving, some great fights that we've just seen from Colin Wynn and James Armstrong. Now back with Chris Wally. He's up 2 places in this race. We've seen him fighting away, and Armstrong has crashed. I've just seen him tumble down the timing tower, Chris. It looks like Colin Wynn gets that position back.
Oh dear, he's done all the hard work, got past all these drivers with excellent overtakes, and then just losing it round the corner there. Ooh. Oh, and that's not actually too bad of a tap, but he's obviously now stuck waiting for everyone to get past. So again, nice to see some polite driving, but Armstrong must be fuming.
Absolutely.
As we see,
I think I've
someone else facing the wrong way there.
Yeah, someone else facing the wrong way, and we've got a big fight here. Oh, the other Armstrong's gone off. That's Rob Armstrong on car 666 with the demonic flames there on the Porsche. That's a shame to see from Rob Armstrong, as he's going to have to just wait for some of those cars to obviously go through. Now James now trying to make his way back up, but he's having a fight here now with Chris Wally, 2 of the stricken drivers who have had a bit of a rough time this evening, now having to try and fight it out between them. They're going to be incredibly racy, both of those guys, and I think at this point it's probably going to be a case of James Armstrong just trying to get himself maybe into that top 10 and claim a few more points. Now here we are with Oliver Carwardine. He is in an incredible fight here between a few races, but we're actually going to go over to Mark Baxter-Jones because he's still under pressure from Dan Baffy at the front. Only half a second separating these guys, as they're about a third of the way through this feature race this evening with 20 minutes to go. Now Baxter-Jones looks like he's got a pretty clean car there. No dents, bumps, no mirrors missing, nothing paintwork problems. So both these guys, Dan and Mark Baxter-Jones, they're having an incredible race at the front. And here we go, we've got Chris Wally under pressure here. It looks like James has gone round the outside of him side by side, and then here's where James made that mistake earlier, but this time he's managed to keep it together by the looks of it. But Chris Wally giving him a push pretty much here at this point. Chris has got a lot less damage on that car, and I think he's going to be in a position to make a move here. What's he going to be able to do around the outside? I think that's a bit of a risky one on the outside. It looks like he's going to let James go, but he's got the better exit, I would say, here into the final section of the circuit. We've seen James pull some incredible overtaking manoeuvres around this kind of U-bend section at the end of the track, and let's see if Chris can do some kind of copycat move and see if he can get himself round. It looks to me though like Chris has got the cleaner car.
Sorry, I think perhaps these two are expecting to be 10 places higher having this battle, but it feels like they've been side by side or nearly side by side for most of the last lap and a half. Very respectful driving though, as they're catching up to Kershaw and Johnson ahead of them, so this could become quite spicy quite quickly.
Yep, two very fast drivers. James has got a lot of pace in that incredibly damaged car, but obviously catching up to these slower drivers who, yeah, you said they expect to be much higher up the grid than they are right now. But when you're pushing hard, accidents do happen, and that's what we've seen for both of these guys tonight. With the likes of Baxter Jones, obviously just having a much smoother, cleaner race at the front with Dan Batty behind him. Now, let's see what this traffic is going to do for the battle for 11th place here. This is 11th and 12th they're fighting over. James would much rather be further up the order, and I believe they'll both be getting themselves into the top 10 looking at the kind of pace that they're doing at the minute. And I'd say, is that Kershaw that's perhaps just slowing this train down a little bit, Chris? And then obviously Johnson also trying to do his bit to get round as well. We've seen Johnson driving incredibly well tonight, so I'd say that he's probably got the pace. And look at him trying to go up the inside. Oh, James Armstrong now going to have a little look on the inside of Johnson, and he's got it. Oh, and there's Wally's just tapped the back of Johnson over there into that final section. And that's a shame he's spun him round. Johnson was having a great fight here, and these guys that were just getting a bit too racy, trying to get round each other and obviously fight for position, that's just cost a very innocent Mark Johnson there a few places and a chance at a fight with the car ahead. Yeah, just a little dink, not enough braking, and that's a shame. That's a real shame for Mark Johnson there.
Really is. It just shows you the butterfly effect in full motion there, because Johnson had a little look for a move there. Armstrong capitalised on it, and because of the compromised line Johnson had to take, that then happened, and it must be incredibly frustrating for him because he was doing so well. As Kershaw has Armstrong now, he's not waiting for turn 3, he's throwing it around the S's, and that's a very nice move.
That was incredible. They're really tidy around the S's, wasn't it?
Yeah, he just wants maximum screen time, so he's finding places to do new overtakes and then binning it so he can overtake some more people. As we see Colin Wynn now defending from Johnny Elia. As we go back to Wally, because there's action all around here. It's difficult to know where to focus because everyone is fighting. I mean, Baxter Jones and Batty first and second are within half a second of each other, and we've barely been able to go and watch them because there's just so much else going on.
Yeah, Mr. Batty at the front, now 3/10 behind Baxter Jones, but we're going to keep here with Colin Wynn because Collins have to have a bit of a battle here with Elia. I think Colin has had a fantastic race, really. He's had 4 positions. He's had a really great... He put himself in a strong position, obviously, by running the consolidation race, which gave him the position that he needed in 11th here to obviously have a strong start, and he's kept his nose clean. I don't see a single mark on Colin's car there, so I'd say that that's a great bit of a performance from him. And obviously Colin, another one that we've seen. Oh, and he's hit it.
Oh no!
Oh no!
The commentator's curse is alive and well. So perhaps Stuart Brown is now going to hate me, so I bring up the fact he is our best performing driver in relation to his grid position. Started 16th and is trundling along very nicely in 8th position, currently completely untroubled. As we're probably about to watch him bin it somewhere because we've said this. While we're on board with Martin Rendell with Vance Briggs just ahead of him, and I believe Anthony Franklin just ahead of Briggs.
I think I should keep my mouth shut from now on, should I? Maybe.
Well, I don't know. It's inevitable. We can blame it on the track. As we see some very different lines here. This is going to lead to perhaps a good run for Briggs onto Franklin into turn 3, perhaps.
It looks like it, doesn't it? It looks to me like Rendell's just going to be able to watch this unfold from behind, as he's not quite brave enough for the inside line there. Not going to be able to do it under braking, is he? Oh, he's really tried hard. They're going to be side by side. They did incredibly well not to hit each other there. That was a bit brave, picking up a bit of curve and bouncing over to the left-hand side of the course there. We very nearly saw a bit of contact, so Rendell nearly did get lucky there. He nearly witnessed an incident, witnessed a murder, and then slipped round the side of him. But they live to race another day. So here we are with Baxter Jones at the front of the pack. 4/10 behind him is Mr. Batty. Now, these guys have been relatively unbothered, just doing their thing at the front. I expect they'll get pretty racy towards the final few laps. We are halfway through now, and look at how close Batty was there into the S's. He's really trying to close that gap up now, and it's down to under a tenth, back up to about 3/10 now, but he was incredibly close through the S's, just didn't quite get the exit out the second part of that corner, and now he's in a position to start really putting pressure on Baxter Jones into this tighter section. Now, it looks like we've got Colin Wynn in the pits. He's gone in possibly to remedy that damage that he took. I don't know that was really meatball flag worthy. But unfortunately, that's him now dropping down into 12th position. I believe the likes of Franklin and Briggs may end up getting past him as well. Yeah, there they go. And Rendell as well. So that 3-car battle's gone past Colin. So that's a real shame. He had such a stonking great start to the race. And unfortunately, that's just not lived up for him. So shame to see that happen. But here we are now back with Vance Briggs putting the pressure on, and here's Rendell as well. We kind of go for a manoeuvre. They were almost 3 wide here into turn 3, and Rendell up the inside. Is he going to be able to make that stick? Absolutely he is. Great work there from Rendell, nice and tidy, and he's managed to grab himself another position there. So he'll be up for a fight with Briggs now. He'll be chasing him down, thinking, I can grab another position off you, Mr. Briggs. Absolutely every chance around here. There's a few dents in that Porsche on Vance's car, so perhaps he's got a bit of maybe dropped a bit of top speed compared to the guys behind him. So we'll see what happens later on. Now, here we are with Mr. Johnson. A troubled Mr. Johnson, who obviously got a little bit of a tap from Wally earlier, which has just put him back a few positions in this race. But now he's looking to make his way around Kershaw, who has got a bit of a dent in the front there, a bit of damage on Kershaw's car. And I think Johnson, looking at him, has really got the pace to get round him. There we go. Look, he's going up the inside, possibly. No, not quite brave enough on this occasion, but there is a long straight coming up, so we'll see what he'll be able to do around here. Now, great little exit there out of the final couple of corners from Mr. Johnson. What can you do into the next section of track? Turn 3 is going to be the premium overtaking position here, and he's managed to get right up close to the back of Kershaw into the S's. Kershaw seems to take a bit of a different line, tries to open up the second part of it a bit more for a cleaner exit, and I think he has managed to grow that gap, albeit only a little, half a second now, versus the 3/10 it was a little earlier. Now, in the straight line, though, it looks to me like Johnson might have just been catching up. Now, Johnny Elia has had a crash by the looks of it. Let's go to a quick replay of that and show you, viewers on Twitch. Let's have a little look here. Catches a bit of curb, and then, lucky not to spin it round there, Chris.
Yeah, he's done well to keep out the wall by the look of it, and it doesn't appear to have cost him any positions, although Stuart Brown is now catching him. He's only a second behind, so not to keep pumping someone up too much, because, as we see Colin win, that might be why he ended up in the pits, perhaps. Or that might have been after he came out of the pits again, because it looks like he's gone back in for a second stop. So perhaps the damage he had wasn't quite fixed, and he was struggling to get round a bit more.
There's Rendell. Replay of Rendell just
going round as well. He's now running a bit lonely in 14th. I mean, that is the last of the runners still out there, but I think if you'd said to a driver like Rendell or Franklin in 13th before this race, here's 13th and 14th place in the final feature race of a Porsche Cup event, I think they'd bite your arm off for that. That's a very good position. It's just where drivers haven't been able to turn up this week. It means those of us brave enough to do Belle Isle are going to get a serious haul of points here.
Yeah, great to see that we've got some people really fighting hard for position here. Lots of action going on across the pack this evening. So thank you very much to all the drivers. Obviously, you'll hear this obviously later on if you watch the stream back, but you've been fantastically entertaining. I am very sad to see Colin win out. Colin win again, one of our fellow Radical drivers, isn't he? And a real shame to see him out. So let's have a look here. We've got James Armstrong going for another manoeuvre. He's making his way up. That's another overtake for James. He's got it past Brown, and now he's going to be heading up to the back of Elia, who we've seen have that little incident earlier on. So we've got a few cars up ahead that James is going to be trying to fight for position. He's got another 10 minutes to go, and I'm sure that he'll have absolutely no trouble getting a few more moves done. Here we go, back with Johnson. We've seen him plenty of screen time for Johnson tonight when he was fighting with Crawford earlier, and now fighting here with Kershaw, looking around the outside there, just seeing where he can look for a bit of room, and he's not quite able to get the job done at the moment, is he? Here's Baxter Jones. We've got a real fight on our hands at the front here. 2/10 only separate these guys, and it looks to me like Bathy's got a much smaller gap than he had on the previous laps where we were watching this fight.
Yeah, this is the closest these two have been. He's just hanging his nose out on the outside, just reminding Baxter Jones that he's there. That's the first real time we've seen Baxter Jones properly try and defend it as well, as he's taking the slightly compromised line through here as well. But the dynamic between these two, I think, is going to be quite interesting as the race develops. Bathy has spent 20 minutes right behind Baxter Jones here. He's going to know very well exactly where where he's strong, where he's weak, as we see Roberts in an instant here with, I believe, Denny Wood. Oh, there we go, that's nasty. I think that's a racing incident, but it's sad to see. They were both running so well. It has
Yeah, they
promoted
were.
Denny Wood up to third, though, so he won't be too sad with how that's ended up. But it has meant our top two are now pretty much home and dry, at least for the top
Yeah.
two positions.
Well, assuming that they don't take each other out at any point, yeah. But we've seen obviously a bit of contact so far. I expect that we're going to see. Oh, look at that! It looks like was that Kershaw now behind Johnson? Oh no, I think they're swapped again. Possibly, I think they might have just swapped positions again. Kershaw's got it back past. Oh, Johnson's crashed. Johnson's dropping down the order as we're now watching Johnny Aaliyah under extreme pressure from James Armstrong. Oh, and that pressure was just too much. He's put it in the wall, and here comes Oliver Carr-Ward. Stuart Brown. And he's managed to get around Aaliyah as well. So that damage-stricken car of Aaliyah, is that going to put him at a disadvantage now for the rest of the race? That's some action all the way through this session so far. Let's have a little look here at what happened to Johnson. He's just caught the curb there. Oh, and he's spun it round. Oh, Kershaw did well to avoid that.
I think we've seen people lose it on exit at every turn of this track so far, which just shows you how difficult it is, even in relatively kind track temps, just to keep the car going. So now Chris Roberts is in the pits. We've got a large casualty list developing here. Kane Crawford, who was it? I think, yeah, Kane Crawford, who went into the pits very early. He's gone back out. He's ahead of Colin Wynn now. He might well get ahead of Anthony Franklin as well. So it just shows you the value of going back out, as we see Chris Wally overtake Johnny Aaliyah there. I wonder, well, they're both damaged really when you look at them. So you can maybe Aaliyah's new damage is just that little bit more severe than Wally's damage. As Aaliyah looks like he's gone straight on, and yep, he's hit the wall. It's not had a good lap or two.
No, I think the damage has put him off his pace a little bit. He's put him off his stride, I guess, and the damage is meaning that he can't quite hit the apexes or the right brake. Look at that, yeah, he's just locked those brakes up and straight into the barrier. Let's see if he'll be able to get round anymore. Will he go to the pit lane, or will he just see if he can see it out now? I don't know if that's a meatball flag or not, but it looks pretty meatbally to me. I don't know about you, Chris, but just looking down, we've got, what's that now? 1, 2, 3, 4 people out this race. Robinson, Masters, Cox and Wynn. Rob Armstrong is in the pit lane, but not out of this race yet. So, like you said, it does go to show that actually, when you go back out, people like Crawford have actually managed to obviously make places back just by having the stopping power and seeing the race through after the incident. 7 minutes left to go. Well, 6.5 pretty much now of this race. Dan Bathy dropping back a little bit from Baxter Jones at the front by the looks of that gap just growing as we go over to Stuart Brown here, who is in a fight with Chris Wally. Wally now doing incredibly well. He's actually gone up 8 places, I believe, but Stuart Brown's up 10 according to the UI here. So a great race for Brown. He's just managed to capitalise on all the incidents, I guess, that have been happening across the top 10 of the pack.
Yeah, it's the Sean Cranley Swash special.
The Sean Cranley Swash special.
Yes, the keep your nose clean and get. I think Sean finished 6th in the Radical League as well, so it's obviously finishing 6th is what happens if you just keep it clean from the back. Yeah. Although Chris Wally has something to say about that.
Yeah, Chris obviously had the incident from P2 in the first heat, which was unfortunate for him. We're going to go over to a quick replay here of Kershaw, and who's he getting round here? Is that Aaliyah that he's getting round? Oh, so. Kershaw managed to make up some places. He was fighting quite hard earlier with Johnson, we saw, and albeit not quite clean, that car, he has managed to keep his nose relatively out of trouble. And here's Wally again, really up close, using a lot of curb there, aren't they, on that final section of the circuit, and he's fighting real hard with Brown here. Brown defending for his life in this last 5.5 minutes or so of racing that we've got here on the circuit. All of these cars with Denson and mirrors hanging off, all these battle scars. Belle Isle has really been a pretty rough one, hasn't it, this evening? Looking at the gaps across the field, Baxter Jones maybe just dropped a bit of time there now to Bathy. The gap back under half a second. As we go back to Wally here, and look at Wally going up the inside onto the pit straight. That's a great move from Wally. He had great pace there, and he's got a nice tidy entry into the S at the start there, the turns 1 and 2. And he'll have a nice clean run down into turn 3 with no challenge really, I expect, from Brown there.
Yeah, I think he's, again, just running his own race. You can see there's a 12-second gap back to Kershaw, so he just lets the much faster Chris Wally pass. That's still a very creditable 7th place in the feature race here at Belle Isle. That's something you can go home and tell your parents about. Not many people have survived this circuit this evening, so to finish 7th with, again, 4 minutes to go, let's not count our chickens just yet. That's an incredibly good result. Oh,
Rob
as we
Armstrong.
see, that was
Oh!
Elias instant.
Briggs has survived that, hasn't he? Briggs, who's up 4 positions, I think he's just managed to survive that. As a liar, I think just tapped the wall. We'll go back to that now. Look at this. He's taken a bit of curb. The back end's gone, and then Vance has just given him a little tap to say, "Out of the way, mate," and then carried on along his lap.
I think they're all driving such on the edge of the capabilities of the car that I don't suspect there was a huge amount Briggs could have done about that. As he was just trying to make sure he didn't spin it himself out the exit, I suspect.
I think obviously some of these guys obviously perhaps struggling with obviously the various bits of damage from the concrete walls, slowing them down or making the lines not quite as comfortable as they would normally be. And we're going to go back here now. You can see we've still got Baxter Jones leading Bathy at the front of this race. Armstrong has just dropped down a position by the looks of it. Has he just tapped the wall again, Chris? I think we're going to have a quick replay here. Let's see what he gets up to. Dink. Yeah, yeah.
Oh, dear.
Oh, no, that's awful. That's a couple of dinks and then a very big thud. So that's allowed Wally through, and also that's also allowed Stuart Brown through as well. So let's see whether James will be able to claim any more of those positions back. But I think the damage on that car is probably going to be about the limit for him, I expect.
He has at least been able to keep his rear wing on this race, so he's done quite well in that sense. That's improvement.
Yeah, holding on to the important bits of equipment on the car. That's always advisable. Now, just looking at the front now, still half a second between P1 and P2. They've been about this close for pretty much the entire race, I think, haven't they, Chris? It's not really been much to write home about. They haven't really had a chance for a kind of an overtake, trading places kind of moment that we've seen. But Dan Bathy must be desperate to try and do it, obviously with only about 2 minutes left to go.
Yeah, I think they've probably got the 2 laps left, so this, where we're approaching here, this is probably the most sensible overtaking spot. But he's too far behind this lap, but Bathy is going to know very well. Oh, as we watched, Mark Johnson has crashed. Has he lost it under braking as we go into the right-hander here? It's just gone straight on by the looks of it.
Given up.
Been tired, a bit quite tiring. He's done over an hour of driving by now. In the heat we're having here in the UK, I suspect he's probably a bit done with it all. Maybe all these drivers are.
Look,
Oh, blimey.
Side on into the wall. There's not a lot left of James Armstrong's car there, unfortunately. So we'll see if he. I don't know. That didn't quite look like a meatball, but he has had a lot of incidents, hasn't he? So I expect the incident point chart will look quite fruity at the end of this race. But going back here to the front, this is actually the closest fight now. These are the only 2 guys now at the front here that I believe haven't even had any crashes or incidents. They've not touched each other or a wall. Or maybe I've cursed it and maybe something interesting will happen now. But Wood behind, not really able to put up much of a fight. Denny Wood, obviously a bit involved in an incident earlier, and Oliver Carr-Wardine just managing to hold it together at the minute in 4th position. Similar finish to the heat race. So great performance there from Oliver. And then Chris Wally now up into 5th position. That's great to see after being all the way down in 15th. That's 10 positions he's made. Great performance from him. So Baxter Jones now 4/10 ahead of Dan Bathy. I think we've just heard that Rob Armstrong and somebody else has just crashed. Let's go see if we can go over that. Oh, Franklin, here we go. It's Anthony Franklin here, car number 11, and behind him's Armstrong. Look at this. He goes to the inside, and oh, he's lost it completely. Oh, I don't think there was contact between the 2, was there? Did they both make their own separate mistakes?
I wonder if maybe Franklin could see what was happening to Armstrong in his mirror and perhaps didn't focus on the corner when maybe he could have got away with it. Looks like Bathy's just hit the wall slightly there. He knows this looks like this is the last lap as they've just hit 30 minutes, so that might have been his chance of the win blown.
That is a shame. We've been watching him so closely and he's still close in behind, only 4/10. Let's see if Baxter Jones can just hold on to it. Here he goes round into the final section of the circuit. This has been really close from these guys, and the fact that they're still only a couple of only a few tenths apart, this has been great to watch. That mirror really hanging off, and look how close Bathy is behind on the exit there as they come now into the final corner. This has been some brilliant racing from these guys at the front, albeit we just haven't quite gotten to see them overtaking each other. And I guess maybe when you're Dan Bathy, do you just hold it together for the entire race and try and get it done towards the end?
Well, I think he'll be happy with second place. That's still an excellent result for him. But obviously,
Yeah.
every racing driver wants to win, but it's not worth potentially crashing out to get sometimes, I suppose.
And there's Baxter Jones, your winner. Fantastic result there from Baxter Jones, followed by Bathy. We'll be seeing Denny Wood hopefully coming over the line shortly, followed by Oliver Carr-Warline. But we've also got the likes of Wally also still to come over the line. Here they go, these guys racing right to the end by the looks of it, weren't they? So it was a great performance from all of those guys. So brilliant stuff there on the final lap. Really, really enjoyable to watch this evening, and all the action we could have asked for.
Yeah, it's been about as clean as I think you can hope for in a street circuit in the Porsche Cup cars. A special shout out to Denny Wood, I think, who's had a very quiet race. We're happy with his podium, third place there. Pretty untroubled after there was that slight incident with, was it Wally and Carwadine, I believe, were the other two involved in that?
I think it was Carwadine and Wood that had a bit of contact earlier on, wasn't it? So
yeah.
And three. Was that? I think that was Kane Crawford. We just saw dragging himself along the wall there. So Kane Crawford down in 15th. A couple of incidents. Obviously, got a bit caught up at the start of this race, but nonetheless, good to see him over the line now. And then that's it. That is everybody over the line, I think, apart from Elia, that we haven't seen yet, but should come in 11th. Wynn, Cox, Masters, and Robinson didn't quite make it through. But yeah, great racing from all these guys. And here we go. I think this is Elia, the last one over the line, possibly. There we go. And we've got a full grid of cars finished our feature race here. Half an hour at Belle Isle this evening. Chris, do you mind taking us through the results?
Yep, can do. So that's Mark Baxter Jones as the winner. He'll take home the 150 points. Following directly behind him, couldn't quite get the overtake done. That's Dan Bathy in second, with Denny Wood rounding out the podium. Oliver Carwadine with a very strong fourth place, followed by Chris Wally recovering to fifth. As we said earlier, the Sean Cranley Swash Special was Stuart Brown in sixth there. James Armstrong, despite crashing out, I think 3 times in the end, has managed to finish seventh. So that just shows you his raw pace is definitely there. Stephen Kershaw held off Vance Briggs in the end to finish 8th and 9th for Briggs. Martin Rendell rounds out the top 10, and then Johnny Elia was the last one to finish on the lead lap. Mark Johnson and Chris Roberts were a lap down in 12th and 13th, with Anthony Franklin 2 laps down in 14th. Kane Crawford recovered to get to 15th, but 4 laps down, and then as mentioned, the non-finishers were Wynn, Armstrong, Cox, Masters and Robinson.
Well, a fantastic bit of racing. We'll get the championship table up for you if we can in a minute. And there you go. So Dan Batty now actually leads our championship with Gavin Halls, who's been so dominant in some of the earlier races, now dropping back into second position with Johnny Elia in third. Baxter Jones, even with that win, that's brought him up 4 positions in the league to P4, with James Armstrong not far behind. He's actually managed to move up 1 position by the looks of it in this session. So that's great from all those guys. In 6th, we've got Denny Wood, followed by Oliver Carr-Warline. Then Stephen Kershaw in 8th and Chris Wally in 9th. 10th is Colin Wynn. An unfortunate race for him this evening, after such a great start in the feature race, just not managing to convert that into that nice top 10 finish he was hoping for. Kane Crawford is in 11th, followed by Martin Robertson, Chris Bridle, Michael Hornby, who we didn't see this evening, Stephen Masters, Martin Rendell, Stuart Brown, Vance Briggs, Adam Holloway, Matt Cox, and then we've got Chris Roberts down there in 21st. So that's where the championship standings are for the moment. It does say Watkins Glen up there, but we are obviously in Belle Isle. So just in case there was any confusion. Now, I guess that all there's really left to do is say a big thank you to all of the viewers, all of the drivers that have been obviously with us this evening. You put on a great show, drivers, and supporters there on Twitch. Thanks for all your comments. Thanks for all of the chat messages, and thanks for watching us this evening. If you haven't already subscribed to the YouTube channel or the Twitch Prime, please give us a subscription. It really helps us continue with the content, and we love making this stuff for all of you viewers. Next up, we're going to be having Road Atlanta. That's the next race in a couple of weeks for the Porsche Cup. In the meantime, there will be other content coming in regards to, we've got the Radical League, which won't be broadcast, but is still on the Thursday nights every week. So feel free to come over to the community if you're interested in racing some far high downforce cars. We've also got F3 League running at the moment, and the GT3s on the opposing Sundays, obviously, to these Porsche Cup races. Head over to facebook.com/iRacing UK if you want to come and join in. We've also got the YouTube channel where we're the iRacing UK community. Twitter and Instagram, you can find us as IRUK_team. A final very big thank you to the man behind the scenes at Sean Cranley Swash, who's been able to give us all of the angles using the TrekCams22.com camera packs that we use. And a big thank you to you, Chris, for being here with me this evening on my return after a few weeks off.
It's been an absolute pleasure to be here. That was a very interesting race or set of races to watch. We had plenty to discuss, I think, and I need to go and have a cold shower possibly now.
Oh, was it that exciting for you? Was it? Okay.
Oh,
Well,
yes, obviously, yes.
well, on that bombshell, we'll say a very big thank you again to you all viewers, and good night. Thank you for joining us here at Belle Isle. Some fantastic racing.